My grandfather was a very powerful medicine man in our area, and he also helped other people, like the chapter house. He was into it. So where he rode horse across the reservation in Arizona, all the way by Cameron and Tuba City and everywhere down this way. And then a couple of weeks he would come back this way. Sometimes he would stop by Window Rock. My grandfather was, like I said, he was a powerful medicine man in the area, and especially on the Navajo reservation. Some that will remember him. Anyway, my grandfather would fast for people. And if someone was sick, he would do that. He would fast and ask the spirits to guide him. And so I remember him one day. My dad and my mother said, "We are going to the mountain with your grandfather. Stay away. Don't do such a thing." Meaning, don't ask for it. So they left. And my brother and I said, "I wonder what they're going to do." And when that's like that, it's like, where are they taking him? Anyway, they went up the mountain, and my grandfather got out, and the east, the west, the north, and the south. When he was right in between, I guess, he started chanting, and then the bears came out. And so I guess my parents were so surprised too. And then he came up, and then my grandfather went to meet the bear halfway because he wouldn't want to come toward where my parents are in the car. Excuse me. Anyway, he chanted and went up to the bear and said something to the bear. But that scene was like, can you give me the permission to get your gall out, or either use your paw? He does have a bear paw, that the medicine man gave it to him. My great grandfather gave it to him, I think. So he said that, and my grandfather says, "Does that mean yes or no?" So when he comes down, that means no. When he stays up, that means yes. So he did some things to him that he took the gall out. I thought, my goodness, how is that? Because I questioned all of that because I wanted to be interested in a different culture, a different religion, because when I end up with all the sores, I was afraid to die. And then I would ask questions like, if I die, where does a person go? My grandmother says, "No, you don't talk like that, little one." And so I always wondered why. Now I do. So that's how my grandfather was. And one day he caused an accident too, because the man that was in it was not honest. So he was bewitching everybody. And then so this lady found out, and so she came to my grandfather. And so my grandfather says, "I will perform a death sentence." So, so he fasted all week, because I remember, because the sweat house was like this. And he went over there, and my grandmother said, "Don't come near your grandfather because he's doing the ceremony." So then we were herding sheep, and then I said to my little brother, "What's Grandpa saying?" He's chanting, but I don't understand it, he says. And he came back, and then the ceremony was done, but then he did go up to the mountain too. We have a big mountain called Hosta Butte. He climbed up there and I guess fasted again. And then when he came back down, he told the people that the accident was going to happen. And it came out exactly. I asked my sister later, and my sister said, yeah, it happened, Betsy. My grandfather told us not to tell. Did you tell anybody? No, I said, no, I did not. I said, grandparents telling me something. That was gospel to me. So anyway, that's what happened. And sure enough, he said a big diesel truck will run over him. That's exactly what happened. And when I was sick, one day I said to my grandfather, if he has that kind of a power, why doesn't he heal me? And then when we were sitting down, I said, Grandpa, how come you're not going to heal me? How come you don't heal me? And then he says, that's one thing I will not do, baby. I don't have the power. And
Because each medicine man has a certain category that is passed on to him.
yes, my grandfather, like I said, I really did respect both of them. And when he says something to us, me and my brother, we took it as gospel. We don't share, we don't say nothing. Anyway, he was one of the ones that would have the beauty way over like kids going back to school like us. But my grandmother never used him because it's not right. And so he uses we have a pastor from that bunch, and he usually the one to ask. So he does that. It's called the beauty way. You bless it, just like dedication. If he wants to get rid of that person, but he says that he has to know why it's happening. I remember the incident that he did for a lady that came from Arizona and said, could you do this for me because my son is going to prison and I don't want him to go. Would you do back, don't let us, I don't want him to go, is what she said to him. And my grandfather said, well, I have to look into the record. My grandfather never went to school, never read, so he said, I will look into it. So for a while, my grandpa was gone and went to the agency, which is Crown Point, went to the agency and went and did the file, whatever the Twitter was there for, that's what they did. So when they found it, they told him that the guy is a cheater, a liar, and a drunk. So if you wanted to have at it, There's always money in it. And my grandfather did not care if he didn't get paid for it. And it's not that's I don't tend to make money out, but he does sometimes. The people would give him a lot of livestock like cows, horses, sheep, goats. So I remember those things, and so that's what he did, and also for anything that had to do with the enemy way, because he was one of the one. I remember the lady from Cove, Arizona, and the west side of Shiprock. She came and she said, "Would you do this for me? Would you do this for me?" And so my grandfather says, "Well, I have to wait." So when that person told him that to kill him, I said, that's taking a life. I mean, I mean, I could understand, but on the other side, he's doing wrong. So when he did that, he went to Crown Point and he went for the file. And he has a demonic spirit right by his ear,
When that's just in the air.
Then so he would tell them what's going on. And then the lady came back the next evening. And well, Grandpa, what happened? And the grandpa said, I'm not going to sure that you're going to be happy about this. I can't do it. You ask another person, but who? And he said, I can't recommend anybody because I was told not to. So that's what he did. And also he would open a ceremony for this enemy away, the squaw dance. He would prepare things for it and the drums to be exactly, and he would chant also. And so he did that. That was the big part of the enemy way, what the white people call the squaw dance. Sorry, the squaw dance is called the enemy way in Navajo. Um, the enemy way is done like when you were little or when you were growing up. So back then we hardly had any people, had any white people. The only white people we had was the trader. Now, if the missionary came around, yeah. Anyway, the enemy way, the family will pick up who the medicine man's going to be. But when my grandfather did that, he would, will be chanting. Back then, when we didn't have any white people or any other nationality, and the only people we fought with was the Nota and some plain Indians. Anyway, back then, I guess when people got sick and they didn't know what's going on, and then my grandfather and his dad would chant over these people, and so they got better and they're on their feet again. So they were happy that happened to them. And then my grandfather would then entryway for the enemies to come in, I guess. I mean, I shouldn't say I guess, the enemy to come in. So what he does is he puts up all the good stuff at the west side of the house in the corner, and that's where they had their medicine all open up, and then he would cause the people to walk on one side, and then my grandmother would come first because she has the fire stick and sits down, and then I'm the next one, which sometimes I felt like I was taking the stuff away from somebody else, but I was fortunate I could learn some of the things. And I thought to myself at that point, I sure don't want to be in their shoes. And but he goes on and does that, and he helps the medicine man to start the singing. And he did a sweat house where people got together and prayed and prayed and prayed, and just like Christianity, you had a prayer meeting. So that's what he did, and he chanted with them and chanted, and the results good sometimes not. Anyway, so my grandfather does that, but yet I guess he's limited to it, and he doesn't want to learn or something.
In the enemy way ceremony, he was initiated because he killed someone.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. That when they do the medicine, the skin, the enemy way, my grandfather usually goes and takes a 30 and 30 gun, the rifle. I thought, uh-oh, what in the world? Who's going to get killed? And then I thought, Jones, my brother, said, shh, Betsy, don't say nothing. I'll tell you later. So that's what happened. And then I asked my grandma, and she said the same thing and said, don't, you have to hush, hush about these things. Grandpa will know when you did that. And so I do know that my grandfather has the ability to do things that way. I didn't like it, but I mean, I don't know if he even knew the Lord because it was hard to witness to him, but he'll say, oh, yes, I believe, just like I'm now, when you put them on the spot, they do say anything. Anyway, that was how Grandpa was.
What was your relationship like with your dad, like from early on to forward?
Spoiled brat, Mama, they would say. My dad was always somebody I look up to. She is a very gentle person, and and no matter what I was, he was my dad, even though drink. My brother Jones was the same way. None of us we could live without him. And very loving, and I would hug him, and he would
Cuddly.
and cuddly. When we were both little, me and my brother Jones, we would get up on the bed with him, and I said, my mother one day said to one of my aunt, he says, well, Johnny's kids, you know, my dad's name was Johnny, and he said, they don't do a thing, they don't do nothing bad when he's around.
In their eyes.
And he, especially, I'm the only one that's a girl from my dad's side. My sister is, but she had a different father. Anyway, for that, a lot of my aunt, they really got jealous because of what my mother had. And one day she said to her, how come he's always carrying the kids? One on his shoulder, one on top of his head, and one on the side. And I said, and my mother says, that's the way he is, and that's the way the grandparents like it. Or my grandparents were like that too. My grandmother was a very hard worker. My grandmother stayed home and most of the time, and my brother and I took care of all the livestock. And my grandmother wove for the trader there at Mariana Lake. And I remember her telling me that I needed to learn how to weave. Otherwise, I wasn't a woman. Anyway, so not really that way, but she didn't mean that way. Me and my younger brother stayed with her a lot of times when my grandfather was away. And she is a very instructive person. She didn't scold you, but she always said, come to the point. And she could have her fire stick and say, listen, get this into your head and into your ear. Some of these days you're going to have children too. And then I thought to myself, oh, Grandma, don't say these things. Anyway, so I said, she said to all of us, my uncles and my mother, my dad, we all go to church this Sunday. So they didn't say anything, but they did. Everybody in a wagon. Smith Lake is about 9 miles from where we live to the east. That's called a Smith Lake trading post. And there was a missionary little lady, old lady, gray hair. Sister Tate. They're both with the Lord, but they got my grandma persuaded to tell them where the Navajos live. So she did, she didn't mind. And I went with my grandma, and I was sitting by her, and through the interpreter, the Navajo woman was the Navajo man was the interpreter, and the white person, the lady, was the preacher. Anyway, she said one particular thing that I remember so much was that she said, who would like to go to heaven and live in heaven? Who wants to go to hell and live in torment? And I thought to myself, I don't want to go to heaven. I don't want to go to hell. I want to go to heaven. So it got in the back of my mind, and all the time I could come up with the with the sentence. So she told us. So that's how I got to know the missionary a little bit, not all of it. But what I wanted to be taught the Word of God. I wanted so much the Word. I just wanting just like you drop a sponge in the water and it sucks it in. That's the way I was. 1956 at Peru boarding school, where I learned about Jesus first. And the Sister Tate was the first one when he said something about hell, I said, I don't want to go to hell. And I was so interested then. When I took the sheep out on the mesa, I would talk to, I would say, I don't know who all the beings are and who all the bosses are. Would you listen to me? If there is a God, I want him to listen to me. I said, I want a missionary to tell me about Jesus, because he is the one that is a loving God, a loving Savior. I want to know him. And I prayed that when I was out on the mountain with the sheep. And sometimes I would see a bird flying across, and that reminded me of the Lord. So it went on for a time like that, and I went to a boarding school at Peru, a BIA school, a Bureau of Indian Affairs school. And that's where I really, they had a release time Bible class, and you have to go. You're Catholic, Mormons, whatever, you know. So I went to the Christian Reform because that's how my mother registered me. How, I don't know, maybe May Casimiro influenced it. Anyway, so I would pray, I would ride horse, I would pray and say, God, if you hear me. And then with the sores that I have, I said, sometimes I can't deal with it. It's so hard to live like this. And of course, my parents had medicine men over me to heal me, but nobody ever did. And I would question then, I say to my father, how do they know they're going to heal me? So far, nobody has. And I said to him, I know Grandpa could, but he says that I have a limited spirits or whatever. Anyway, that's how there was a Navajo interpreter. That man is Paul Rathouse still alive? I think he went to be with the Lord about a year or two ago from the north side of the reservation straight up. Anyway, he was the interpreter for the lady. Did he ever say the word that says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish. And then he'll go on to say, he is the only way through that cross. And he would say, you see that cross? I mean, your imagination, you have to go through that cross. You believe Jesus, the consequences are there, but it's worth it all.
No ice cream in hell. No ice cream in hell.
And that's what he said, and that's one of the things that we always cherish when we're out in the stick. And he was saying there's no ice cream. My goodness, I said, I love those scenes, but how can I get it up there? No, and all that kind of stuff. Being from a Navajo culture or any other culture, I guess, any other Indian culture, I guess they have a different thing, but it's almost the same. Satan is Satan. So I think of the missionary. I want something that, and this missionary is about 9 miles from where we live. So I said to myself, Lord, it's going to be too long, a big long walk. I don't know how much my time will be, and but I keep praying for the Lord to bring us a good missionary that's going to teach us the Bible. And then one day when I was in a boarding school, I must have been about 8 or 7, came home for the summer. And here a station wagon pulled in, and he started saying, knocking on the door, and I said, go away. That's all I knew. I said, go away. And then he says to me, Betsy, this is the missionary. And we know your parents. They said that you're interested in the gospel. Why don't you say so? So I opened the door and I brought them in, and from that day on to this day, it hasn't stopped. Boy, did they ever teach.
And they moved into the community. They moved into the community.
Yes, they moved into the community. I saw this way up on the mesa. I was riding on a horse, and there's a big, huge thing moving. I said, that has to be them. Nobody else is rich enough to have a mobile home, you know. And so it came down, and it came right. And I also told the Lord, I said, I want this missionary to be by my grandmother's so I can go every night.
So I can watch.
Anyway, it came right through up there to where they're gonna, it's right by my grandma. And boy, I had the classes again and across the mesa and into Arroyo, and I got up there. Then sure enough, it was them. The missionary was there, and he said, "Well, Betsy, welcome to Berea Navajo Mission. It's going to call Berea Navajo Mission. Anyway, this is the trailer we're going to live in, and you bring in the people since you're saved." I thought to myself, how in the world am I going to know how to speak? Like Moses, I said, I'm kind of somewhere with my words. Anyway, they stayed there until 50 years, I think he did. And so every night I chased the critters in, the sheep and the goats, and from there I just closed the gate and took off where it's only about a mile, isn't it? A mile from where my parents live. I went straight. Yes, when I accepted Jesus at the mission, when the missionary was asking, I must have been 7.5 years old. So when I did go to school, my mother also told me that, what church do you want me to put you? I said, Berea Navajo Church.
For release time.
Yes, release time Bible class. And I said, Berea Navajo Church. Okay, so she put me on there as my parents. So when I went to school, I was told to go to Berea Navajo Church. I didn't know who I was going to get into, but I did. I loved it. I loved their singing, and then the guy sang some Navajo songs, and which I just love. Oh, there's a happy land in Navajo. So one day we had a meeting, and everybody was supposed to have good fellowship, and then Mr. Baird is his name. He said, "Who wants to know Jesus?" So, and who wants to know Jesus? Who wants to go to heaven and live with Jesus for eternity? Remember, he paid the price for you. He died for you, and now all you had to do is believe him. So, my goodness, that isn't hard. I don't have to bring any medicine, money to do this. So he said, do you really want to believe? If you do believe, somebody is going to mock you and tell you all kinds of stuff. And I said, I don't care who tells me that. I can fight them. So when the time came, I went to the front. I said, I want to receive Jesus. So I said, Jesus, I want you to come into my heart. So I really didn't know what I was doing, but he led me through the prayer. Man, what a change of attitude. I like to have murdered some people, but I not don't. And I went home and told my parents, and my dad said, don't tell me about your God. I don't push the God I have into your throat, he says. I said, yes, you did. You guys didn't do nothing. I don't care, because because now I know Jesus. He's going to heal me. My dad says, "What did you do?" He told me to get out of his house and not to eat there off the table, and he did desert me. There's a little box there for your clothing, which was even a clothes. Anyway, so I took that with me
And don't eat at my table anymore.
and don't eat at my table anymore. Some of these days you're gonna crawl back and have a medicine man again. And that's a day I like to see, he says to me. And then I thought to myself, this is the time to stick my heel in the ground, in the mud, and I will never ever see him see me sitting on that sheepskin and have the ceremony going. I will never ever do that. So I made a commitment. So at that time, the missionary I have already told me about how my family members are going to persecute me if I stood up for Jesus. And I said I didn't care. I didn't care at the time what they say about me, because I was dying. I would have been gone to hell already. So I might as well believe that before I got kicked out. And I was trying to be healed by the medicine man, and I said to my dad, there has to be another way. Even then, my grandmother would say, you should have another one, Betsy. I said, no, my grandma.
She had many ceremonies before she accepted.
The money they spent on me, and I could see the livestock they gave people, my mother's jewelry, they were, whatever my dad made, it went to the medicine man. So when I believed Jesus, I said, I know the Lord Jesus can heal me, because in the Bible it says He is the healer. And I thought to myself, oh man, that's just wonderful. So He did. The Lord healed me in 2 months of time, or 2 months of time. The whole thing, the sword was just gone. And I had praised the Lord, and I didn't know how to praise the Lord. All I did said was, thank you, thank you, thank you. In no time I was playing basketball in school. I know that Jesus died on the cross. He came as a human being to die on my place. All I had to do is believe. When I was kicked out, the only place, the safest place for me to go was to the sheep corral. I had a little doggy there, and then I was freezing. I was kind of cold. This was in April, and so I tried to snuggle up to the sheep, and they didn't want me to cuddle them. So, and then it was getting pretty cold, so I started walking toward my grandma. And then
To the missionary.
Actually the missionary, I thought to myself, when I go to my grandmother, she's going to say to me, you weren't supposed to be doing that. Did I teach you that? And no. And so I went to the missionaries. I knocked, and I kind of hesitated to knock, but I did. And then he came, oh, it's you. And so I told him that my father had chased me out. Whatever I had to take. And he said, come on in. That's how the teaching began too. It's further down, and I was into memorizing and Navajo both ways.
Then he remind you that this persecution, he had warned you of it.
Yes, and I forgot to say that. And I stayed there until my grandmother and my father. My grandmother is usually the big boss, so she asked them, where is your daughter? My mother said, I don't know. I wonder if that's what the chick does, the hen does. When one of their chick is gone, they just say, well, she may not come back. You ever think about that? Where is she gone? So my dad had to tell. He came to the church's place. I guess they had to say what they had to say. Then the missionary said, Betsy, I want you to go out and reach your dad and your grandma. And I thought to myself, why? And I remember him telling me that when I believe in Jesus, that I'm going to be my own relatives, my own brothers or sister, whatever, my mother, my dad, they will do that to me. If they kill me, they kill me. My grandmother intervened for me to go back to the house.
Remember, you became sick because you had been outside in the cold?
Yes, I did get sick, but I did come home because one day when we were out herding the sheep with my grandma, he gave us my grandfather gave us a catalog that had all the little kids in it. And I said to my grandma, I like these kids, Grandma. I want to be and tell them about Jesus. And then she said, well, what are they? Are they living around the corner? And I said, no, Grandma, this is in another country. I have to fly or either use the boat to get to them. Why would you want to do that? She said, because I want them to know Jesus like I am too. The Russian one is the white people. They're all dressed up nice and I thought to myself, I could teach them Navajo. Then I want to go. When the missionary told me, and I think in that time I told him that I wanted to be a missionary to the foreign country. And said, no, Betsy, these are all your Russian people here. They are yours to witness to them. You're the only saved person that we know of in this area. So it's going to be your job, and I will teach you everything the word said. And so when he told me that, these are your people, think about it, pray about it. Don't just let it go, because you're going to hate me if I say, anything. But if the Lord wants you to do that, He will let me go away. But if not, we have to stay put. So I was a very shy person coming, but they got me to where that I could speak to my people. I remember one day when we were way up on the mountain, a guy by the name of Charlie Snipe, he said to me, now, are you a Navajo? He says to me. I said, well, that's the only ones that are around. I thought to myself, and he laughed and he said, yeah, that's true. But he's white. And then my missionary said, no, I'm not. I'm a Cherokee. And so anyway, whatever happened. Anyway, this man said to me, which home are you from? Right down. That's where my grandparents lived. My dad. Oh, we know we're related to each other. Well, then come to know Jesus. Now, maybe sometime later, I'm not ready yet, he says. Well, I think he is gone without the Lord. That was Roy Snyder's dad. I went to a through boarding school because the surrounding people around that area have their kids take school, but they have to have a release time Bible teaching. I had that, and I was very grateful for every little thing that I could learn about Jesus. And I learned already to how to multiply and do multiplication and all the rest of the other stuff. And a lot of guys taller than I am didn't know how to do it. So I told them how to do it. And the teacher says, Betsy, are you telling them how to do it? I said, yes. I didn't think there was nothing wrong with it, but she said, well, good lady, maybe you'll teach how to be a teacher. Anyway, I do have my own people on the side of it. The girls that are about my age, I was telling them how. And some of the words they didn't know too, so I told them the anger and listen and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I was helping the teacher.
That's your first school. That's some of your first schooling when you were 5 years
Yes,
old.
that was my first schooling. And then I went to Oregon, and some of the kids from our area went to Oregon. That's where the Europe and then the fair school is. And it's called Chimawa, Oregon, an Indian name. Anyway, I said, I want to go there. And my dad says, you're too little to go there, Betsy. I don't want you to be off our sight. But I want to go. And I was bawling my head off in front of the principal, and he let me go. You have to have a chaperone. So I did have a young couple that got married there somewhere. And the mission knew about them, so they were going up there, so they took me aside. It was nice. Um, then from that school on, I was forever in trouble. I mean, I didn't know I was a troublemaker. It's the principal, who was Mr. Rosenberg. I'm sure he was. He said, "Little lady, why are you in my office?" So I gave him the paper, and he said, "Oh, you're in trouble because you spanked somebody." And he was copying me. I says, he was copying me. He wanted to cheat. So he said, "Okay, I'll see you tomorrow." So he went up there to class, and I guess he asked the teacher a lot of stuff. Then what he did was he tested the boy that was harassing me, or I harassing him, and all of his grades were down. And then when he tested alone by myself, I just went.
She was an A student and he was not.
Anyway, he said, "You're a good lady. You're a good girl. Anyway, I'll see you after school." So he went back up there. On the way up to the classroom, there was a lady just right below us. And I said, "This is where you will go to school from tomorrow morning." And there, the grades were up from there. You cannot. When I went back, he said to me, "You're not a five-year program student." What does he mean by that? I guess a lot of Navajos didn't have schooling until they were already an adult or in their teen or whatever year they're on. And I said, "You're not part of that. Why did you have to come this way? You need to go to the public school." I thought to myself, what is he trying to tell me? So he said to me, I was really small then too, and he would come sit on his lap. My goodness, to sit on your principal's lap and superintendent or whatever. Anyway, he was really nice. He said, "I don't want you to come back. That's why I put you in that grade. You are right when you said that the boy is copying you. So you want to be watched by a teacher now." And, so I went to that class. Just before Bible school, I went to Denver. I stayed there a couple of years. I worked for a lawyer and a doctor. They got 3 kids, Jew, and so I helped them out, and they paid me good. But anyway, my sister wanted to go with me, so they did. So she worked there. She had the kids small, and so in that church, there was a missionary for us Indians,
The bakers.
the bakers, but they were not our denomination. I'm sorry to say that, but they were Christian Reform. The very forward, the missionary, very, very gentle. Anyway, my sister, uh, when they has whole Bible class like Russ, and when they said to them, "I want to know Jesus. I want to know Jesus. I want him to be my Lord. So they did. So she did. It was really good. He went to catechism. She said, "What's that, Betsy?" Well, some of the things that you have to learn from the script. Anyway, since ours is not set up that way, but so just told her what I and for the longest time she rather go to the Christian Reformed Church than to the Baptist or whatever. And then after I believe I was 17 years old, I was at home and ready to take off to another school. Anyway, so I my
They were
mother,
doing a ceremony for your mother.
they were having a ceremony for my mother. It's called the fire dance. It takes about 9 days, 9 evenings that the medicine will do the work. And at the end of the 9th day will be a special night because that's when they sacrifice. The daughter or somebody in the community that's related to the person that's having a ceremony, like my mother, she would choose somebody that would be
Still a virgin.
that they want someone that's a virgin. And my sister looked at me and I said, my grandmother said to me, "You're going to be the one." Usually I don't say nothing back to my grandmother. I said, "That's what you think, but I'm not going to." Well, I didn't say that, but I know I respect my grandmother. They tried to persuade me for days to be part of this medicine man. We look all over the community, and my grandpa's relative and my dad's relative and everybody's relatives. They were trying to find someone, but no,
It has to be you.
it has to be you. I thought to and everybody was coming into our yard. This was happening about up up the church is about a mile. That's where it was happening.
Being done,
The
yeah.
medicine man, and we were back there, and I thought, man, a living why doesn't the Lord deliver me out of this? I liked for him to do that. So this medicine man started doing his thingy and all that stuff, and a lot of people were involved. And there's killing sheep and goats and making food for the people and all that good stuff. And the end of the 9th day, that evening, my sister and I went to the laundry to do the singing. Anyway, they said, "Tonight is the time, so get ready." I said, "I'm not getting ready." "For what?" So my grandmother said, "Don't talk to me like that." I said, "Grandma, I'm sorry, but I have a different God." So that went on, and then we went to the laundry. My dad evidently followed us. We put our clothes in, and I see my father walked in, and his face looks all out of shape. He said to me, "Betsy, the medicine man dropped dead." You don't know how happy I was. I grabbed my sister's hand and we jump up and down, praise the Lord, hallelujah. I didn't know whatever word I used. Anyway, my sister at that time was saved too. So we both were happy and the Lord helped us. Then my dad said, "I want you to go home with me right now." The route is about 25 miles to the place we were going. We did, and I went with them, and my dad said, "I don't know what happened, but the medicine man was just performing, and in his performing, the medicine man just dropped." I said, "My God, that's wonderful thing."
My God has delivered me. My God has delivered me.
Yeah, that's what I said. My God has delivered me. My dad was looking at me, and then we got there. And nobody wanted to go into the hole. So I did because of the evil spirit and didn't want to touch the corpse. So I did, and I said, "Are you?" I checked his pulse, and he is gone. I said to the people, he is really gone, gone, gone. I says, and I was kind of smiling. My dad comes beside me and said, "Put a smirk on your face to be." I said, "I'm happy because I'm delivered from the hand of Satan." Usually, when that happens, they stop them. They stop
That
everything.
ends the ceremony.
Yeah, ends the ceremony.
It's been defiled.
Yeah. So those are some wonderful things that the Lord helped me
You
with.
might want to mention that later your mother said to you, your God did this, didn't he?
Yes, my my mother said to me, "I knew that you were praying. I knew that was your God that helped you, Betsy."
So the same year that the ceremony happened, you were sent to the
Yeah.
Bible school, right?
Yes. And then my mother said to me, "I will never ever help you with any money, even if I have to sell your life." So I just walk off. I thought to myself, "Well, I don't care anyway." I didn't say that, but it was. I was telling her that um, if she would let me some money to go to Bible school, and that's when she said that, and I thought to myself, well, I belong to the Lord, and He will provide, and He did. I had 3 years training. And I learned to witness to people like way up north called Rico, Colorado, and what's the other?
Cortez?
Cortez is one of the ones too, and we were outside of that. Where I went to Bible school is now they call it a discipline, disciple?
I don't, it's become a
Alcoholic.
alcohol recovery place.
When there was a family involved, I hear about it, but I don't say anything. But this time, my mother told me that she will not help me going to Bible school, but people back east helped me that knew the missionary. So I really, really thank the Lord for those type of people. They were very, very strong.
So what happened after the Bible school? Did you come back here to your mom's place?
No, I went to the mission and I helped out.
Did all the visiting of the whole, all the visitation?
And the Release Time Bible class, Marianne Lead and Crown Point.
So after you came back from Bible school, your family had a level of respect for you? Is that what
Yes. Her dad especially. Well, her mother too, but she was quiet about it.
So my mother changed her attitude. My dad didn't mistreat me. He was. My brother Jones was telling some of the things he says to other people. Now my daughter is a Christian. When I said to my dad, I know I have a little bit of livestock. If you do take it to an auction, please sell all mine. I don't want them anymore. Horses, what I have, I don't want them anymore. Sheep, goats, you can make it your lunch. So I said that to them, and
You went to take a course in dentistry and dress designing in San Francisco.
Yeah, that's what I did. When I came back from California, maybe 3 or 4 years after I came home, and my mother says, "I want you to go to the corral with me." And the one big corral was the horses. I said, "How many horses do you people have?" And she said, "They're yours. That's what I want to talk to you about," she says. And then we went to the sheep corral. My goodness, I couldn't believe how many sheep and goats we had. And I said, look at those hornless sheep, the goats. I said, and then big goats. And then she said, they're yours.
Her mother had changed her attitude because her mom, took care of the stock, and she had always marked everything that belonged to her. And they had multiplied great.
And then she gave me the money. She said to me, I'm sorry for the way I was rough with you when you wanted help. And so she gave me, I did sell a few of your stuff, and I'm not going to use your money. Here is your money, she says. She gives me $3,000 for my sheep and my horse. And then I said, well, Mom, you did all the work, so I have some. So I only had 1,000, so she do, and give this one to the church. Whenever there's something in crisis going on in my family, has to be Betsy. We have to ask her, and I did go many times from Farmington to Mariana Lake. And sometimes I would say to my papa, you guys all know how the mom and the word comes out. God can listen to you. If you mean business, talk to him. One day, my dad said something to me, and I said, why don't you believe the Lord? Why? Does the Lord have to put a rock between your eyeballs before you wake up? And my mother just sits and listens. And then my aunt, his sister, who became a believer, and then one day she said, my daughter is saying this to me. How do you feel about? And my other cousin ran out of his room, Larry, and he wanted to hear. So he says, I want to hear what my cousin said. So my daughter wants me to believe in the Lord. He said, that's the only way I will go to heaven. And I will not see anybody else if they don't believe, she says. Anyway, and my aunt says, yes, by all means, we want you to go to heaven. All of you. So my mother, so Ramona and Joe came, and that's when they asked them. They said,
They led them to the Lord.
Yes, he led them to the Lord, and they're very, very good about that. And she did believe, my mother and my dad.
Your parents believed after 35 years of praying.
And somebody said to me, are your parents believers? I said, yes, my dad came, both of them came to the Lord through a friend of ours. They were both missionaries and pastor and his wife from Coolidge. And when they went to visit them, they're both really aggressive, like the navigators anyway, or anyone that submits to the Lord. And said, anyway, they both asked them if we would want to accept the Lord. And my dad says, I got tired of living the way I am, so I'm going to. So 35 years.